I helped the school ice queen write a love note. I spent 30 minutes choosing the right words. I fixed her spelling. I even helped her decide where to place the final sentence. Then she slipped that same note into my pocket and kissed me. The problem was I didn't know it was for me. My name is Ethan Brooks. At Westbridge High, everyone knew Claire Whitmore. She was the girl people talked about without even realizing they were doing it. The top student, the debate team captain, the student council vice president, the girl who always looked calm, confident, and impossible to approach. People called her the Ice Queen, not because she was cruel, because she never showed anyone what she was thinking. She could walk through a crowded hallway and make everyone move aside. She could win arguments against teachers. She could give a speech in front of the entire school without shaking once. But nobody really knew Claire. Except me. At least I thought I did. I first met Claire during sophomore year. I was fixing a broken projector in the classroom after school. Everyone had already left. Except her. You know you can ask someone for help, right? I looked up. Claire was standing near the door, holding a stack of papers. I could say the same thing to you. She raised an eyebrow. Me? You're still here too. For a second, she looked surprised. Then she smiled. A small smile. Almost impossible to notice. You're not afraid of me. I laughed. Should I be? Most people would have immediately apologized. But Claire just looked at me. Like she was trying to understand me. No, she quietly said. You shouldn't. After that day, we became friends. Not the kind of friendship everyone noticed. The quiet kind. She would sit beside me during study periods. I would help her prepare presentations. She would remind me about assignments I forgot. I would fix things whenever school equipment broke. Somehow, without anyone noticing, we became each other's favorite person. One afternoon, Claire found me in the library. She looked unusually nervous. That alone was strange. Claire Whitmore was never nervous. Ethan. I looked up. Something wrong? She sat across from me. I need your help. With what? She placed a folded piece of paper on the table. A love note. I blinked. A what? A love note. I looked at the paper, then back at her. You're writing someone a love note? Yes. That answer somehow bothered me. I didn't know why. Maybe because Claire was the last person I expected to need help with romance. Who is it for? She looked away. That's not important. It's kind of important. No, she pushed the paper toward me. I need you to help me make it better. I opened the note. The handwriting was neat. Of course it was. Everything Claire did was perfect. The first sentence was simple. I've wanted to tell you something for a long time. I looked at her. This is serious. She nodded. I know. You really like this person? Her eyes softened. Yes. I don't know why. But that answer made my chest feel strange. So? Claire looked at me. What? You're supposed to help. Right. I grabbed a pen. Okay. I read the note carefully. Then I started making suggestions. Maybe don't say you are the reason my heart feels peaceful. She frowned. Why? Because nobody talks like that. They do. In movies. She looked offended. I watch movies. I know. And movies are unrealistic. Claire stared at me, then smiled. You're criticizing my love letter. I'm improving it. You're very confident. I'm helping you. For the next 30 minutes, we worked on the note. I helped her choose words. I helped her rewrite sentences. I helped her make it sound more natural. Finally, Claire looked at the finished note. Better? I nodded. Much better. She folded it carefully. Thank you. No problem. She stood up. Then suddenly asked, Ethan. Yeah? Do you think the person will like it? I smiled. Of course. You're sure? Yes. Why? I shrugged. Because someone put this much effort into it. Claire looked at me for a long moment, then quietly said, exactly. The next day was Valentine's Day. The entire school was different. Flowers everywhere. Students carrying gifts. People confessing feelings. I didn't think much about it. Until lunch. I found Claire waiting near my locker. She was holding something. A small envelope. Ethan. I smiled. Another note? She shook her head. No, then what? She stepped closer. I wanted to give you something. Before I could ask, she reached into my jacket pocket and slipped the envelope inside. I froze. Claire? She looked at me. Don't open it yet. Why? Because I want you to read it when I'm gone. That sounded strange. Gone? She smiled. Yes. Then she stepped closer. And before I could understand what was happening, Claire Whitmore, the girl everyone called the Ice Queen, kissed me. The hallway went completely silent. Students stopped walking. Someone dropped a book. I couldn't move, because the girl whose love note I had helped write had just kissed me. Then Claire whispered, "Now you can read it." And she walked away. I stood there for several seconds, then slowly pulled the envelope from my pocket. My hands were shaking, because suddenly I realized something. The love note I helped Claire write was never meant for someone else. It was meant for me. I stood in the hallway holding the envelope for almost a minute. I should have opened it immediately. Anyone else would have. But this was Claire Whitmore, the girl who never made mistakes, the girl who carefully planned everything, the girl who had just kissed me in front of half the school. And somehow I was still trying to understand what happened. "Ethan." I looked up. My best friend Lucas was standing beside me. His eyes were wide. "Did Claire Whitmore just kiss you?" I looked around. A lot of people were still watching. Apparently, everyone wanted the answer. "I think so." Lucas stared. "You think so?" "I'm still processing." He pointed at the envelope. "What's that?" "A note." "From her?" "Yes." "Open it." I looked down. "I will. Right now." "Lucas." "What?" I'm trying to breathe. I walked to an empty classroom before opening the envelope. My hands were still slightly shaking. Not because I had never received a note. Because I knew who wrote it. Claire. The girl who always seemed impossible to understand. The girl who never let anyone close. I opened the paper and read the first sentence. "Ethan, I don't know when it started." I stopped, then continued. "Maybe it was the day you stayed after school to fix the broken projector. Maybe it was when you noticed I was tired even though everyone else only noticed that I won another competition. Maybe it was when you treated me like Claire instead of the girl everyone expected me to be." I stared at the words, because those were moments I barely remembered. To me, they were ordinary. To her they mattered. The note continued. "Everyone thinks I'm confident because I never get nervous. They're wrong. I get nervous every time I want to say something important." I smiled slightly. Claire Whitmore. Nervous. Nobody would believe that. Except me. Because I had seen the small moments. The way she tapped her pen when she was thinking. The way she looked away when someone complimented her. The way she became quiet whenever conversations became personal. Then I reached the final sentence. And my heartbeat stopped. "I asked you to help me write this note because I wanted to know what you would say to someone you cared about. I just didn't know how to tell you that person was you." I read it again. Then again. Because somehow, the answer had been obvious the entire time. Claire wasn't asking for writing advice. She was asking me how I would confess my own feelings. And I never noticed. When I returned to the hallway, everyone was still talking. But I wasn't thinking about them. I was looking for Claire. I found her near the library entrance. She was standing alone. The moment she saw me, she looked away. For the first time in my life, Claire Whitmore looked nervous around me. "Claire." She turned. "Did you read it?" I nodded. "Yes." "And?" I smiled. "You're a terrible liar." She blinked. "What?" "You said you needed help writing a love note." She became quiet. "I did." "No." I stepped closer. "You needed help confessing." A small smile appeared. "Maybe." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Claire asked, "Was it embarrassing?" "What?" "The note." I shook my head. "No, really?" "Yes." "Why?" I looked at her. "Because it sounded like you." That surprised her. "What does that mean?" "It means everyone thinks you're cold." A pause. "But that note proved they're wrong." Claire looked down. "I was afraid." "Of what?" "That you would laugh." I froze. "Me?" She nodded. "Everyone thinks I'm impossible to approach. They think I don't care about anything." She looked at the floor. "But I cared about your answer." I smiled. "Claire." "Yes?" "You helped me fix broken speakers." She looked confused. "What?" "You helped me with my math homework." "Yes." "You remembered my birthday." "Yes." "You always sat beside me." A pause. "Do you really think I would laugh?" She didn't answer. Because she knew. After school, we walked around campus. It felt strange. Not bad. Just different. Before today, Claire and I were friends. Now everyone knew something had changed. But honestly, the biggest change wasn't the kiss. It was that Claire stopped hiding. At the school courtyard, she suddenly stopped. "Ethan." "Yeah? Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why did you never notice?" I laughed. "Notice what?" "That I like you." I thought about it, then answered honestly. Because I thought someone like you wouldn't like someone like me. Claire looked at me. What does that mean? You're Claire Whitmore. And? And I'm just Ethan. Her expression changed. Not angry. Sad. Ethan. Yes? Do you know why I like you? I shook my head. Because you never said someone like me. She stepped closer. You were the only person who never made me feel like I was above everyone. A pause. You just made me feel normal. I didn't know what to say. Because the girl everyone admired was telling me that the thing she valued most was being treated like everyone else. The next morning, something unexpected happened. When I arrived at school, Claire was waiting by my locker. Not hiding. Not pretending. Waiting. Everyone noticed. Of course they did. She looked at me. Good morning. I smiled. Good morning. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She took the notebook from my hand, opened it, and wrote something on the first page. I looked. What did you write? She closed it. A reminder. For what? She smiled. So you don't forget. Forget what? Claire looked at me. That the person who helped me write a love note. A pause. Is the person I wanted to give it to. The whispers started immediately. The school had a new topic. The Ice Queen had chosen someone. But I knew the truth. Claire wasn't choosing me because I was special to everyone. She chose me because I was special to her. That afternoon, our English teacher announced the Valentine's Day project. Everyone needed to work with a partner. Before anyone could move, Claire raised her hand. I already have one. The teacher smiled. Who? Claire looked directly at me. Ethan Brooks. The whole class reacted. And for the first time I didn't feel like I was standing beside the school ice queen. I felt like I was standing beside Claire. The girl who trusted me with her secret. The girl whose love note I accidentally helped write. The girl who had one more surprise waiting for me. Because after class, she handed me another envelope. I looked at her. Another note? She smiled. No, then what? She leaned closer. A challenge. I opened it. Inside was one sentence. Now it's your turn to tell me what you feel. And suddenly the girl who once needed my help writing a confession was waiting for mine. I stared at the envelope in my hand. Now it's your turn to tell me what you feel. That was the entire message. One sentence. No instructions. No hints. No pressure. And somehow it was more terrifying than any exam I had ever taken. Because writing a love note for Claire was easy. Not because I didn't care. Because I could focus on her. Her smile. Her kindness. The little things she did when nobody noticed. But writing a confession about myself? That was different. I had spent so much time believing someone like Claire would never choose someone like me. Now she was standing in front of me asking me to choose her back. You look like you're solving a difficult math problem. I looked up. Claire was sitting across from me in the library. Our library. The same place where she first asked me for help writing the note. I put the envelope on the table. It's harder than math. She raised an eyebrow. Really? Yes. Why? Because math has an answer. Claire smiled. And this doesn't? I looked at her. No, for a moment. She was quiet. Then she said, maybe you already know the answer. I looked away. Claire always did that. She always saw through me. It was almost unfair. How do you do that? Do what? Know what I'm thinking. She closed her book. Because I pay attention. To me? Yes. The simplicity of her answer surprised me. Claire never said things dramatically. She didn't need to. The next few days became strange. Not bad. Just different. Before, Claire and I were friends who secretly cared about each other. Now everyone knew. And suddenly, the smallest things became impossible to ignore. When she sat beside me during lunch, people noticed. When she waited for me after class, people noticed. When she smiled at me in the hallway, everyone noticed. But Claire didn't change. That was the thing I liked most. She didn't suddenly become someone who wanted attention. She still studied in the library. She still helped classmates. She still stayed late after student council meetings. The only difference was now she let me be beside her. One afternoon, I found her helping a first-year student organize paperwork. I stood there watching. The student thanked her. Thank you, Claire. I thought you were scary before. Claire smiled. I hear that a lot. Are you? She thought for a moment. Maybe a little. The student laughed and left. I walked over. You admitted it? She looked at me. What? That you're scary. I am. I smiled. Honest. I learned from you. Me? Yes. How? Claire looked at me. You never pretended. That answer stayed with me. because Claire had changed. But not because she became warmer. She was always warm. She just finally stopped hiding it. Friday afternoon, we stayed in the library after school. Again. It was becoming our place. Claire was reading while I worked on my confession. Or at least tried to. You've been staring at that paper for 20 minutes. I looked up. You counted? Yes. Why? Because you always do that when you're nervous. I sighed. You really notice everything. Yes. Even things I don't want you to notice? Especially those. I laughed. Finally, I put the pen down. I don't know what to write. Claire closed her book. Then don't write what you think you should. What do you mean? Don't try to make it perfect. She looked at me. Just make it true. That was exactly what I had told her. The day she wrote her note. You remembered that? Of course. Claire. Yes? You remember everything. She smiled softly. Only things that matter. That night, I finally wrote the note. Not like a love letter from a movie. Not like something perfect. Just honest. I wrote about the first time she smiled at me. The day she sat beside me during lunch even though everyone was watching. The way she always noticed when I was tired. The way she made me feel like I wasn't invisible. And I ended with one sentence. I don't know when I started liking you, Claire. I only know that every day I spent with you became a day I wanted to remember. The next Monday, I gave it to her. My hands were shaking. Claire noticed. Of course. You're nervous. Yes. Good. I looked at her. Good? She nodded. Because now I know I'm not the only one who was scared. She took the envelope. But instead of opening it immediately, she placed it carefully in her bag. You're not reading it? I will. When I'm alone. Why? She smiled. Because you did that too. I laughed. You remember that? Yes. After school, Claire asked me to meet her near the old garden behind the science building. Nobody went there often. It was quiet. When I arrived, she was already waiting. She was holding my note. I read it. I looked at her. And, for a moment, Claire said nothing. Then she walked closer. Ethan. Yeah? Do you know what I was afraid of? What? That you would only see me as someone who needed help. I frowned. What? When I asked you to help me write the note, she smiled. I wanted to know if you could understand my feelings. A pause. But I was scared you would never realize those feelings were about you. I smiled. Claire. Yes? You're not very good at hiding things. She looked surprised. What? You thought you were. I stepped closer. But you always chose me. For the first time, Claire looked embarrassed. The Ice Queen. Embarrassed. It was almost impossible. I did. Yes. Why? Because you like me. She looked away. That's true. And because I like you too. A quiet moment passed. Then Claire smiled. Not the small smile. Not the polite one. The happiest smile I had ever seen. Good. Good? Yes. Why? Because I spent a lot of time writing that first note. She looked at me. And I didn't want to be the only one taking a risk. Before I could answer, someone called her name. We turned. It was our English teacher. Claire, Ethan, are you two joining the Spring Festival Committee? We looked at each other. Claire smiled. Together? I smiled. Together. I thought that was the end of the surprises. I was wrong. Because the next day, the entire school received an announcement. Spring Festival opening performance partners, Claire Whitmore and Ethan Brooks. And beneath the announcement was another message. From Claire. Not to the school. To me. You helped me write my first love note. Now let me show everyone who it was really for. The announcement appeared on the school website at 8 a.m. By 8:15, everyone at Westbridge High knew. Spring Festival opening performance partners, Claire Whitmore and Ethan Brooks. I stared at the announcement on my phone. Then I looked around the hallway. Everyone else was staring too. Ethan. I turned. Lucas was standing behind me with the expression of someone who had just witnessed history. You're officially the most talked about person in school. I laughed. That's impossible. No, he pointed at my phone. The Ice Queen chose you for the biggest event of the year. I shook my head. She didn't choose me because of that. Lucas raised an eyebrow. Then why? I smiled slightly. Because she wanted me there. For once, Lucas didn't make a joke. He just looked at me. Then nodded. Honestly? What? That sounds exactly like Claire. Claire arrived at school 10 minutes later. The hallway changed immediately. It always did when she appeared. People looked. People whispered. But this time, I noticed something different. Claire didn't care. Usually, she walked through the hallway like she was carrying a responsibility. Today she was smiling. And I knew why. Because she wasn't walking toward a reputation. She was walking toward me. "Good morning, Ethan." I smiled. "Good morning." She looked at my phone. "You saw the announcement." "Everyone saw it. Are you okay?" I laughed. "Why wouldn't I be?" "Because everyone is talking." I looked around. "She's right." Claire sighed. "Sorry." I frowned. "Why are you apologizing?" "Because my life attracts attention." I shook my head. "Claire." "Yes?" "You don't need to apologize for choosing me." She became quiet. Then she smiled. A small, grateful smile. "Thank you." "For what?" "For understanding." The spring festival preparation started immediately. The opening performance was supposed to be the highlight of the event. Claire handled the planning. I handled the music. It should have been stressful. But somehow, working with her felt natural. She understood my ideas. I understood hers. We didn't need to explain everything. One afternoon, we practiced in the auditorium. The room was empty. Just us. Claire stood on stage reading the event schedule. "You changed the music arrangement." I looked up. "Yeah. Why?" "I thought the original version didn't feel right." She nodded. "I agree." I smiled. "You're not going to argue?" "No, that's new." She looked at me. "I trust your judgment." That sentence meant more than she probably realized. Because Claire trusted very few people. During practice, I noticed something. She was nervous. Not about performing. About something else. "Claire." She looked at me. "Yes?" "Something's wrong." "No," I smiled. "You're lying." She sighed. "You're learning. From the best." She looked away. "It's nothing." "Claire." She was silent. Then finally, "Some people think I only chose you because it's unexpected." I frowned. "What people?" "Everyone." I put down my guitar. "And does that bother you?" "No," she answered quickly. Then paused. "Maybe a little." I walked closer. "Why?" "Because they're not questioning me." She looked at me. "They're questioning you." I understood. Claire didn't care about rumors about herself. She had dealt with those for years. But she hated the idea that people were making me feel like I didn't belong. "Claire." "Yes?" "I don't need everyone to understand." She looked surprised. "I only need you to." For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she smiled. "You always make things sound simple." "Because they are." "No," she shook her head. "You just don't realize how much your words matter." The next day, something happened. During lunch, the student council announced a rehearsal change. The opening performance needed a replacement partner. Apparently, one of the committee members thought the school's image would be better if Claire performed with someone else. Someone more recognizable. Someone like the student council president, Adrian Cole. When I heard the news, I wasn't angry. I wasn't surprised either. Because I had always known this could happen. Claire belonged to a world where people cared about appearances. And I was just Ethan. After school, Claire found me. She looked upset. "They changed the schedule." I nodded. "I heard. They want Adrian to perform with me." I forced a smile. "Maybe it makes sense." Her expression changed. "What?" "Claire, he's the student council president. And? He fits better." Silence. Then Claire asked, "Better than who?" I didn't answer. She understood. "Ethan." I looked at her. "Do you really believe that?" I stayed quiet. Because part of me did. And that was the problem. Claire stepped closer. "You helped me write a love note because you thought I needed help saying what I felt." "Yes. But you still don't understand what I'm saying." I froze. "What?" She looked at me. "I chose you." A pause. Not the easiest choice. Not the most popular choice. Not the choice everyone expected. Her voice became softer. "The choice I wanted." Before I could respond, Adrian appeared. "Claire." She turned. "What?" He looked at me. Then back at her. "The committee is waiting." Claire didn't move. "I'm busy." Adrian frowned. "With him?" "Yes." The answer was immediate. That moment told me everything. Claire wasn't choosing me only when nobody was watching. She was choosing me when everyone was. The next morning, the school received another announcement. Spring Festival opening performance, no changes. Claire Whitmore and Ethan Brooks will perform together. And beneath it was a handwritten note from Claire placed on the student council board. Everyone saw it. It said, "I don't need the person who looks perfect beside me. I need the person who makes me feel like myself." I stood there reading those words. And for the first time I stopped wondering why Claire chose me. Because maybe the better question was, why had I spent so long believing she shouldn't? After Claire posted that note on the student council board, the entire school changed. Not because everyone suddenly became supportive. That would have been too easy. But because for the first time, everyone saw something they had never seen before. Claire Whitmore was choosing someone. Not because of popularity. Not because of reputation. Not because he was the obvious choice. Because she wanted him. The next morning, the hallway was louder than usual. I expected whispers. I expected people talking. But I didn't expect what happened. As I walked toward my locker, several students who had never spoken to me before stopped me. "Hey, Ethan." I turned. A girl from the debate team smiled. "Your music arrangement is actually really good." I was confused. "Thanks?" She nodded. "I just never knew because you always stayed in the background." Then she left. A few minutes later, someone else complimented my work on the festival. Then another person asked about my guitar. It was strange, because nothing about me had changed. I was still Ethan Brooks. But people were finally looking. "Enjoying your sudden fame?" I turned. Claire was standing beside me. I smiled. "Not really." "Why?" "Because I liked it better when only you noticed me." For a second, Claire froze. Then her cheeks became slightly red. The Ice Queen. Blushing. I almost laughed. "You're embarrassed." "No, yes. I'm not." "You are." She looked away. "I'm just surprised." "By what?" "Because you're usually the one who gets nervous." I smiled. "Maybe you're rubbing off on me." That afternoon, we practiced the opening performance. The auditorium was empty again. The same stage. The same lights. But everything felt different. Before, I always felt like I was standing in Claire's world. Now it felt like we were building something together. "You're distracted." Claire's voice pulled me back. "Sorry. Thinking about the performance?" I shook my head. "No, then what?" I looked at her. "I was thinking about the first note." She smiled. "The love note?" "Yes. You helped me write it." "I know." "You still can't believe it was for you." I laughed. "Honestly?" "No." Claire walked closer. "Why?" "Because I thought someone like you would choose someone else." She looked at me. "Someone like who?" "Someone confident." "Are you saying you aren't?" I smiled. "Not like you." Claire shook her head. "That's what you still don't understand." "What?" She pointed at me. "You think confidence means never being afraid." A pause. "It doesn't." She looked at the empty auditorium. "When I walked onto a stage for the first time, I was terrified." "You?" "Yes." "When?" "Freshman year." I laughed. "That's impossible." "It happened." She smiled. "I just learned how to hide it." I realized something. Everyone thought Claire was strong because she never showed weakness. But the truth was different. She was strong because she felt fear and still moved forward. The day of the spring festival finally arrived. The whole school was transformed. Lights covered the courtyard. Music played everywhere. Students wore formal clothes. Teachers took pictures. Everyone was excited. But there was one problem. 10 minutes before the performance, the main sound system stopped working. The backstage area became chaos. Teachers rushed around. Students panicked. Someone said the performance had to be delayed. Claire looked at the equipment. Then at me. "Ethan." I already knew. "I'll check it." "You're sure?" I smiled. "You forgot who fixed the projector." For the first time that day, she laughed. "I worked quickly." The cables were damaged. The settings were wrong. Someone had accidentally changed the audio system. Nothing impossible. Just annoying. 5 minutes later, the speakers came back on. Everyone cheered. The teacher looked relieved. "How did you do that?" I shrugged. "I like fixing things." Claire stood beside me. "I know." She said it quietly. Like it meant more than the speakers. When we walked onto the stage, the entire school was watching. I looked at the crowd. Then at Claire. She whispered, "Nervous?" "A little." "Good." I smiled. "You always say that." "Because it means you care." The music started. And this time, I didn't think about whether I deserved to be there. I didn't think about Carter. I didn't think about rumors. I didn't think about what anyone expected. I just played. And Claire danced beside me. When the performance ended, the applause was overwhelming. But the loudest sound wasn't the applause. It was the moment Claire reached for my hand. In front of everyone. No hesitation. No hiding. After we left the stage, Adrian walked toward us. The student council president. The person everyone thought would be beside Claire. He stopped, then smiled. I owe you an apology. Claire looked surprised. For what? Adrian looked at me. I thought I understood what Claire needed. A pause. I was wrong. I didn't know what to say. Adrian smiled. She doesn't need someone who matches her image. He looked at Claire. She needs someone who sees her. Claire didn't answer, but her expression softened. That night, after everyone left, Claire and I sat near the school courtyard. The lights were still on. The festival was ending. You know something? I looked at her. What? Today was the first time I didn't feel like the Ice Queen. I smiled. What did you feel like? She looked at me. Claire. I was quiet, because that was the biggest thing she had ever told me. Not the kiss. Not the note. Not the public announcement. This. The fact that with me she could simply be herself. Then Claire took out a small folded paper. I recognized it immediately. Another note. I laughed. Another love note? Yes. You're still writing those? She nodded. This one is different. How? She handed it to me. I opened it. Only one sentence was written. Thank you for helping me write my first love note. But the best part was finding out I never needed someone else to read it. I looked up. Claire smiled. But before I could answer, my phone suddenly buzzed. A message from the school administration. Important announcement. Senior year graduation committee has selected the final student representatives. I opened it, then froze, because the representatives were Claire Whitmore and Ethan Brooks. I looked at Claire. She smiled. Looks like we're not done yet. And somehow, I knew she was right, because the girl who once needed my help writing a confession was about to make one more choice in front of the entire school. The graduation committee announcement caused another wave of rumors. Not because of Claire. Everyone expected Claire Whitmore to be selected. She was the obvious choice. Top student. Student council leader. The person teachers trusted most. The surprise was my name. Ethan Brooks. The guy who spent most of high school behind the scenes. The guy who fixed equipment instead of standing on stage. The guy who never imagined his name would appear beside Claire's. You're famous again. Lucas sat beside me during lunch, staring at the announcement on his phone. I laughed. Twice in 1 year doesn't make me famous. It does. No, yes. He pointed at the screen. Do you understand how many people are asking who you are? I smiled. Apparently not enough people before. Lucas looked at me seriously. You know what's funny? What? 6 months ago, everyone wondered why Claire liked you. And now everyone wonders how they missed it. I looked across the cafeteria. Claire was sitting with the student council. People were talking to her, asking questions, laughing. But then she looked up and found me. Immediately. It still surprised me. A girl surrounded by hundreds of people always found me first. After lunch, Claire met me outside the library. She held 2 cups of coffee. I smiled. You brought one for me. Yes. You still remember my order? Yes. You know, most people would forget. I'm not most people. I laughed. No, you're not. She handed me the coffee, then looked at me. Are you nervous about graduation? A little. Why? Because everyone thinks I'm here because of you. Claire frowned. That bothers you? A little. Why? I looked at the ground. Because I don't want people thinking I only got opportunities because I'm beside you. Claire became quiet. Then she stepped closer. Ethan. Yeah? Look at me. I did. You think I chose you because I wanted to help you. I didn't answer. She continued. But you still don't understand. She opened her phone. Then showed me something. It was the graduation committee evaluation. My name was at the top. I stared. What is this? Your recommendation. From who? Your teachers. I looked confused. Claire smiled. You earned this before anyone knew about us. I looked through the comments. They weren't about Claire. They weren't about popularity. They were about me. My reliability. My creativity. My willingness to help others. Things I never considered important. I didn't show you this because I wanted to prove something. Claire said. I showed you because you keep seeing yourself through everyone else's eyes. A pause. I want you to see yourself the way I see you. That sentence hit me harder than I expected. Because Claire had been doing that from the beginning. She never tried to change me. She just reminded me who I already was. The next few weeks were busy. Graduation preparation. Final exams. The ceremony planning. Claire and I spent almost every afternoon together. Sometimes working. Sometimes talking. sometimes doing nothing. And those quiet moments became my favorite. One evening, we stayed in the library until closing. Again, the same library, the same place where she asked me to help write her love note. Claire looked around. Do you remember this table? I smiled. How could I forget? She sat down. This is where I almost told you. Told me what? That I like you. I laughed. You almost told me? Yes. When? Every day. I stared. Every day? Yes. And I never noticed? She smiled. No, that's embarrassing. For you? Yes. Good. I laughed. You enjoy this? A little. Then Claire became serious. Ethan. Yeah? After graduation, I knew what she was asking. The future. The unknown. Everyone was going somewhere. Different colleges. Different cities. Different lives. What about it? She looked down. I don't want distance to change us. I was surprised. Because Claire was always confident. But now she was worried. Claire. Yes? Do you trust me? She looked at me. Of course. Then don't worry. Why? Because I'm not choosing you because we're in the same school. A pause. I'm choosing you because you're Claire. She smiled. The kind of smile that made me forget she was ever called the Ice Queen. The graduation ceremony finally arrived. The entire school gathered. Families filled the seats. Teachers stood proudly. Students wore their graduation gowns. And Claire and I stood together near the stage. The final student representatives. Before the ceremony started, Claire handed me something. A folded piece of paper. I smiled. Another note? Yes. You really like writing these. Yes. I opened it. This time, it wasn't a confession. It was a memory. The first note I wrote was supposed to tell you how I felt. This one is to remind you that no matter where we go, you will always be the person who saw me first. I looked at her. You wrote this before graduation? Yes. When? After the spring festival. I laughed. You plan everything. Not everything. What didn't you plan? She smiled. Falling for you. Then the principal called our names. We walked onto the stage together. The entire school watched. But this time, I wasn't nervous. Because I finally understood. I was never standing beside Claire because she was the Ice Queen. I was standing beside Claire because she was the person who believed in me before I believed in myself. After the ceremony, everyone celebrated. Photos. Hugs. Goodbyes. But before we left, Claire stopped me near the old hallway. Ethan. Yes? I have one more thing. She reached into her bag. Another envelope. I laughed. Seriously? She smiled. Open it. Inside was a picture. The first picture we ever took together. At the library. The day she asked me for help. On the back was one sentence. The person who helped me write a love note became the person I wanted to write my future with. I looked up. Claire was smiling. But then her expression changed. Ethan. Yeah? Promise me something. What? When things get difficult, a pause. Don't decide for me that I deserve someone better. I understood immediately. The same fear. The same insecurity. The same thing that almost kept us apart. I smiled. I promise. But before we could leave, my phone received a new message. It was from the school alumni committee. Invitation. Former students are invited to return for the annual reunion next year. Claire looked at the message. Then at me. Looks like we're coming back. I smiled. Together? She held out her hand. Always. And as we walked away from Westbridge High, I realized something. The biggest confession Claire ever made wasn't the note. It wasn't the kiss. It wasn't the words she said in front of everyone. It was every small moment when she chose me. Again. And again. And again. I thought graduation was the end of our story. I was wrong. It was only the beginning of a different one. Because high school was easy in one way. Claire and I were always close. Same school. Same hallways. Same library. Same places where we could find each other. But after graduation, everything changed. The summer after graduation passed quickly. Claire was preparing for college. I was working on my music portfolio. We were both busy. And for the first time, we had to learn something new. How to stay close when life became complicated. The first week apart was difficult. Not because we stopped caring. Because we cared so much. Claire had student leadership meetings. I had recording sessions. Our schedules became completely different. One night, I looked at my phone. No messages from Claire for 5 hours. Normally, that wouldn't mean anything. But this was Claire. The girl who always remembered everything. The girl who always checked if I ate. The girl who always noticed when something was wrong. And suddenly, I wondered, maybe distance really could change things. The next morning, I received a message. Claire, meet me at Westbridge Library. I smiled. Of course. The library. The place where everything started. When I arrived, Claire was already there. She was sitting at our old table. The same seat. The same window. The same place where she once asked me to help write a love note. But this time she wasn't holding a blank paper. She was holding 2 cups of coffee. I laughed. You still do that. She looked up. Do what? Bring me coffee. Yes. Even after graduation? Yes. Why? She looked confused. Because you still drink coffee. I smiled. You make everything sound obvious. It is obvious. I sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Claire said, I miss this. I looked around. The library? She shook her head. No, she looked at me. This. That was Claire. She never used many words. But when she did, they mattered. I thought maybe things would feel different. She admitted. I looked at her. Do you? She thought for a moment. Yes. My heart sank slightly. Then she continued. But different doesn't mean worse. I smiled. That sounds like something I needed to hear. Claire looked at me. You were worried. A little. About me? Yes. Why? I hesitated, then answered honestly. Because everyone always told me you were too amazing for me. Claire frowned. And you listened? Sometimes. She looked disappointed. Not angry. Just disappointed. Ethan. Yeah? Do you remember the first note? Yes. What did I write? I thought about it. That you like me because I saw you as Claire. She nodded. Exactly. She leaned forward. So why are you still seeing yourself as someone who isn't enough? I didn't have an answer. Because Claire had been telling me the same thing for years. And maybe I was finally starting to understand. The problem was never that Claire was too far above me. The problem was that I kept standing below myself. I have something for you. Claire reached into her bag. I laughed. Another note? She smiled. No, she handed me a small notebook. I opened it. The first page had a title. Things Ethan doesn't notice about himself. I stared. What is this? Claire smiled. A list. A list? Yes. Of what? Everything you do that makes people like you. I flipped through the pages. The first few, you always remember people's favorite songs. You help without expecting anything. You make nervous people feel comfortable. You notice when someone feels alone. I looked at her. You wrote all this? Yes. When? Over time. I laughed. You really are terrifying. Why? Because you collect evidence. She smiled. Only about things that matter. That evening, we walked around the school one last time before it closed for summer. The halls were empty. The classrooms were quiet. Everything looked smaller than before. Do you ever miss it? Claire asked. What? High school. I thought about it. Yes. Why? I looked at her. Because that's where I met you. She smiled. Good answer. You expected a different one? No, then why ask? Because I wanted to hear it. We reached the old locker area. The place where she first gave me the love note. Claire stopped. Ethan. Yes? I have a confession. I smiled. Another one? Yes. What is it? She looked at the lockers. When I first wrote that note, I listened. I thought the hardest part was telling you I like you. A pause. But I was wrong. What was harder? She looked at me. Believing someone like you could actually like someone like me. I froze. Because I realized something. All this time, I thought I was the insecure one. But Claire had her own fears. She was just better at hiding them. I smiled. Claire. Yes? Do you know what I think? What? The Ice Queen was never cold. She looked at me. She was just waiting for someone she trusted. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled. You're getting better at this. At what? Understanding me. Before we left, Claire took out one final envelope. I laughed. Seriously? She smiled. This one is different. I opened it. Inside was a blank piece of paper. I looked confused. What is this? She pointed at it. Your turn. My turn? Yes. To write what? Claire smiled. Whatever comes next. I understood. The first note was hers. The second was mine. But this one wasn't a confession. It was a promise. A blank page for everything we hadn't experienced yet. Years later, people would still talk about Claire Whitmore. the perfect student, the ice queen, the girl everyone wanted to understand. But I knew the truth. She wasn't difficult to understand. She just needed someone willing to look closer. And I was lucky enough to be that person. 1 year after graduation, Westbridge High invited alumni back for a reunion. When Claire and I walked through those doors again, everyone remembered. The love note, the kiss, the performance, the girl who chose the quiet guy. But Claire only smiled. Because she knew what I knew. The most important moment wasn't when she chose me in front of everyone. It was the first moment she sat beside me when nobody was watching. The first moment she trusted me. The first moment she let herself be Claire. Not the ice queen. Just Claire. And that was the girl I loved. Years after graduation, I still remembered that Valentine's Day. The day I helped the school ice queen write a love note. The day I thought I was helping her confess to someone else. The day I found out I was the person she had been writing about all along. When people ask me how Claire Whitmore and I started dating, they always expect some dramatic story. A grand confession. A perfect romantic moment. Something from a movie. But the truth is much simpler. It started with a piece of paper, a quiet library, and a girl who was too afraid to say what she felt. 5 years after graduation, I returned to Westbridge High for the alumni reunion. The school looked almost exactly the same. The same entrance. The same hallway. The same library window where Claire used to sit beside me. I walked through the empty hallway, remembering everything. The first conversation. The first smile. The first time she asked me for help. You're still walking around like you own the place. I turned. And there she was. Claire Whitmore. She hadn't changed. Not completely. She was still elegant. Still calm. Still the person everyone noticed when she entered a room. But there was one important difference. She smiled more. Especially when she saw me. You're late. I smiled. You said the reunion started at 6. It did. It's 6 exactly. Claire checked her watch. Then looked at me. You're right. I laughed. Did the ice queen just admit I was right? Don't get used to it. That means yes. She rolled her eyes. But she was smiling. We walked through the school together. Students from different years greeted Claire. Some remembered her immediately. Of course they did. People never forgot Claire Whitmore. But what surprised me was something else. Every few minutes, someone would come up to me too. Not because I was famous. Because they remembered. The guy who fixed the school equipment. The guy who played music at events. The guy who somehow ended up with Claire. At the library, Claire stopped. Do you remember this place? I smiled. How could I forget? She walked to our old table. The same table. The same 2 chairs. She sat down. I sat across from her. Just like years ago. Ethan. Yeah? Do you remember what I asked you that day? I laughed. You mean when you asked me to help write a love note? Yes. I still can't believe you did that. Why? Because you were asking me for advice about yourself. Claire smiled. You didn't know. No, you really didn't. No, she laughed softly. I still think that was the funniest part. I looked at her. Why didn't you just tell me? Claire thought for a moment. Because I was scared. You? Yes. Of what? She looked around the library. Of losing what we already had. That surprised me. Because I always thought Claire had everything. Confidence. Popularity. Talent. But she was afraid too. She was just afraid of different things. What would have happened if I said no? I asked. Claire smiled. You wouldn't have. How do you know? Because I knew you. I laughed. That's not an answer. It is. She looked at me. You were always kind, even when nobody was watching. I remembered something. The first time she asked me for help. The first time she sat beside me. The first time she stayed. All those moments seemed small. But they built everything. Claire reached into her bag. I immediately laughed. No, she smiled. What? Another note? Yes. You still write these? Sometimes. She handed me an envelope. I looked at it. This better not be another challenge. No, then what? Open it. Inside was a copy of the first love note. The original one. The one I helped write. I looked surprised. You kept this? Yes. For 5 years? Yes. Why? Claire touched the paper. Because this was the first time I realized something. What? That someone understood me before I even explained myself. I read the note again. The words were familiar. But now they felt different. Because I finally understood the meaning behind every sentence. At the bottom of the page, Claire had added something new. A final sentence. I read it quietly. The first note told you I like you. The years after that proved I was right. I looked up. Claire was watching me. You're still making me nervous. I smiled. After 5 years? Yes. Why? Because you're still the person whose opinion matters most. I shook my head. You know something? What? When I first met you, everyone called you the Ice Queen. Yes. I thought they were right. Claire raised an eyebrow. And now? I smiled. Now I think they were wrong. Why? Because ice doesn't stay late in a library. A pause. Ice doesn't bring Christmas gifts. Another pause. And ice definitely doesn't spend years making someone feel loved. Claire looked away, still unable to accept compliments easily. Some things never changed. Before we left the library, she stopped near the door. Ethan. Yeah? Do you regret it? I knew what she meant. The first note. The first risk. Choosing her. I shook my head. Never. Not even once? No, why? I smiled. Because the person who helped write a love note, I looked at her, was the person who taught me what love actually felt like. Claire smiled. Then she took my hand. The same girl who once slipped a note into my pocket because she was too nervous to say it out loud was now standing beside me without fear. People at Westbridge High still tell the story. The Ice Queen. The love note. The unexpected kiss. But they always tell it wrong. They say Claire Whitmore chose Ethan Brooks. And maybe she did. But what they don't know is I chose her too. Every day. Because the best love stories aren't always about finding someone perfect. Sometimes they're about finding someone who sees the parts of you nobody else notices. Someone who stays. Someone who chooses you. Again. And again. And again. Just like Claire did. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.